single-family interventions in emergency situations. Last week was Marie Morse, who talked about homestead counseling services and keeping families in homes. But one of the bedrock institutions, agencies in our community is the Lafayette Transitional Housing Center. Here today to speak about what they do and the impact that they make is the Executive Director, Jennifer Layton.
And thank you so much for having me here. I was here at your December meeting, which was very festive and lively. I love singing, so it's always so fun to come. So thanks again so much for your invitation. So as Stephen mentioned, I'm with Lafayette Transitional Housing. I've actually been with the agency for 21 years. Yes, I started when I was 12, thank you. But in those 21 years, I've had the opportunity to watch us grow, quite frankly. And when I first started with the agency, it was only 4 years old at the time. And so when I first, or maybe 5, because we're in our 26th year. So when I first started, we were simply providing housing solutions for homeless families with their children. Our first location was down on Main Street, actually right where Family Services used to be on the corner of 7th and Main. And so we were providing transitional housing services for homeless families and their children for 4 families. Now, my, how we've grown. Last year we provided homeless assistance to almost 1,200 different people in our community. We also have the largest food pantry in our county where we served last year over 17,000 different people. We have 6 different types of programs, and it feels like we've got a lot more to do. So I come to you today to find out, have you all heard of Lafayette Transitional Housing?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about who we are and specifically what we do, and I'm also going to tell you things you can do to help. We are here to help people that are homeless. Bottom line, that's what we do. And so we do that in several different opportunities. We operate the Homeless Services Program that's located at the Howard Center on the corner of 18th and Union. That facility is now open 7 days a week. We're open from 7:30 in the morning till 8:30 in the evening. There, anyone in a housing crisis looking for solutions can walk in or call to talk to an intake case manager. This case manager will actually do an assessment of someone of what their situation is. And for people that are homeless or in a severe housing crisis, then we connect them with referrals and resources and case management where we help people find housing solutions that works for them. Now, lots of times, it's not just a housing issue. Sometimes people need opportunities about employment, so we help people find jobs. Sometimes people need health care. We've got a lot of folks that utilize our services that have some chronic health challenges, physical health challenges. We connect them with health care. We've got some folks that have some chronic mental illness. We connect them with care. We've also got people that have substance use issues. We help connect them to care. And so what we do really is we take sort of a holistic approach. And so when you mention Lori Mann and Marie Morse, it takes a community to help end homelessness. And so that's what we do. We're considered the coordinated entry. So people start with us, we help develop a housing plan with the client, and then we connect them to resources that they could be eligible for. Our end goal is to provide housing. We need to get people off the streets, we need to get people out of shelters, get them into homes, and then keep them there. So that's what we do. We try to wrap around folks, keep them in housing, keep them out of Laura's office, and keep them to be, better engaged with our community. About 80% of the clients with whom we work are able to connect those dots where they get a job, we help them pay for deposits, we sort of get the ball rolling and get people into housing. But about 20% of our homeless population are what we consider chronically homeless individuals. These are people that you would think look like homeless people, okay? These are folks that are living outside or living in emergency shelters for a long time. They have some chronic health challenges, perhaps mental illness, perhaps substance use, perhaps health, sometimes all of the above. And these are the folks that really take a lot of our resources and it takes a lot of opportunity to try to help them. But what we've done at Transitional Housing over the last few years, another one of my programs is called the Lincoln Center. It's the old Lincoln School building on the corner of 14th and Salem Streets. Anybody know where that is?
Yeah.
Okay. We actually purchased that facility back in 1998. We've owned it for that long. In 2011, we did rehab work to that facility to now provide what we call supportive housing. There's 24 units of housing there for single men and women. Each one of the individuals that lives in that apartment building was homeless prior to moving in. And when I mean homeless, I mean these are folks that were literally living in a dumpster. We had a woman that lived with us that lived in her car and she was on dialysis. We have women I have one woman right now who, and some of you might remember this woman, she actually lived on State Road 26. So you would see her sometimes down on like Earl Avenue in the corner like of Main and Earl. Sometimes you would see her up by the post office on the corner. Sometimes you would see her all the way up by like Golden Corral, Target area. And she was an over 60-year-old woman with severe mental illness, and she lived outside. She lived in her van for a while, but then the summer of 2013, she lived outside. She's one of our tenants and has been housed since then. And just a little bit of a backstory about her. She had 33 no trespass warnings put against her from the Lafayette Police Department, which means she couldn't go into Target. She could be outside. She couldn't go into CVS. She could be outside. She couldn't ride the bus system anymore. She was clearly very ill. She had lots of problems. She's now housed. Now, does she still have problems? Absolutely. Absolutely. But she's not living outside. And so that's our goal. We want to connect. She's on her disability. She has care. Is she still very mentally ill? Yes, she is. Yes, she is. But she's housed. So that's our Lincoln Center program. We also own what we call the Singles Program. And it's down on the corner of 8th and Ferry behind St. Boniface Church. Used to be the Comfort Nursing Home facility. But before then, it was the First Ardent Clinic in our community. Y'all familiar with that? You know where I'm at? Okay. So we also own that facility, and in March of this year, it used to be what's called transitional housing, where people would come in, stay a month or two, and move out. Come in, stay a month or two, and move out. And always for homeless persons, but where people were coming in, we helped you get a job, get you moving, and get you into your own place. In March of this year, we actually did renovations and changed our programming to become additional permanent supportive housing. So when we talk about the different types of people that are needing our assistance, these are really the people that are the hardest to keep housed. These are the folks that really, they're not going to be pulling themselves up by the bootstraps with some casework. These are folks that need care. And so our goal for them is to keep them housed. So we've got 24 tenants that live there that do that. I also have a program called our Family Program. And so in the past, it too was a transitional housing program. Families they're bouncing around, shelter, different housing, move to transitional housing, move into other housing. That's a lot on a family. And so one of the things that our board really took a step back and said is that we want to try to end homelessness for families and for individuals. And when families continue to do this sort of bouncing around from shelter to transitional housing program and this program, then these kids are still in transition. They're changing schools, they're missing opportunities, the families are whatever. How can we end their homelessness? And so our family program is getting ready to finalize some rehab work so that those 11 units of housing will be for homeless families, and that too will be for the families that are hardest to keep housed. Many of us, over the 21 years that I've been at transitional housing, there are families that when they walk into our office, I go like this. They're back. Laura, you know any of those families? And so one of the things that we've really thought about is how can we stop the cycle of homelessness for those folks? Folks are going to be living in poverty. I can't fix poverty, but I can end someone's homelessness. So how do we look at the families that are hardest to stay housed? What can we do? Because it's usually not just a housing issue. Usually there's other things, other crises that are all going on with the family. So if we can start with housing, keep people stable in the housing, and then we connect them with care. and we get people involved. We got a great community of resources, partnerships, collaborations. Every other social service agency in our community does fantastic work, but we do it together. So that's what makes it all work. We have two other programs. One is called a rapid rehousing program, and this is similar to what transitional housing used to be. For those families that just sort of need to help, they need help pulling themselves up by the bootstraps. These are families that maybe had an incident. They had a medical illness. They lost their job. They couldn't pay rent. Now they're homeless. These aren't this sort of a situation that happened. We have resources, financial resources, that actually helps pay rent and deposits. So what we do is we partner with Salvation Army, Family Promise, who you heard from Lori Mann, the Women's Shelter, Lafayette Urban Ministry, and we house people. We pay for their rent. We will pay for their utilities, but the housing is in their name. We partner with landlords. And we say, we're going to help this family get back on their feet. We're going to provide a month or two of financial assistance, but this family has the capacity that they'll be able to do it on their own. They just need they need money. It's expensive to get rehoused. People don't have money for rent, deposit, hookups. So that lengthens the time of their homelessness. Let's stop that. Get families, get these children back into housing. We'll pay the money, end their homelessness. My final program is called SSVF, which stands for Supportive Services for Veteran Families, where we work with homeless veterans, both individuals and families. We started this program in 2013 as the VA came. You know, the VA is a fantastic system. How many of you in here are veterans? So I don't know if you know this, being a veteran, but the VA is sort of a difficult system to work with. And so when we have in the past had a homeless veteran, they didn't trigger any big, assistance. Well, the VA changed all of that. And so in 2013, we actually were awarded one of 3 grants in the state of Indiana to provide direct assistance to homeless veterans. Over the last 2 years, we've helped almost 200 homeless veterans in our community. Some of the veterans have actually been living outside. They're on the street, homeless veterans. Now clearly, what we know is that sometimes homelessness is not just a housing issue. So we've got some folks and some veterans that we work with who have severe mental illness, who have severe challenges with substance use. And they're not even close to getting any care because they're living outside. And so that's our role. We help house veterans, get them into housing, and then we connect them with care, and we connect them to the VA. And now they rise to the top of the list for assistance. So it's been a really cool thing to watch. So that's us. So we end homelessness, and we do it in lots of different ways. And I know you're going to stand up soon. I've got a few more minutes. Okay. And so we do it in lots of different ways. But one of the things that we know is that there's always ways we can do things better. And so part of my role as leadership with Lafayette Transitional Housing is to work hand in hand with my partners. And that's with every other agency in this community. And back in 2012, we actually did what's called a charrette. It was a strategic planning process where we looked at different ways we could do things better in our community. And one of the things that we know is that there are lots of agencies all doing good work, but are there ways we could do things better to help end homelessness faster? Obviously, by ending homelessness, you need housing. Do we need more housing? What can we do to make things better? So over the last few years, we've been working on strategic action steps on different things, and hence the reason why you'll hear me talk about the Veterans Program. That was one of those action items. We didn't know about that resource. Found it, went after it, got it, providing services. Providing supportive housing. Okay, that's another way we can really focus our efforts. Providing rental assistance. That's another way we can focus our efforts. Well, now what we've got in the pipeline that's been somewhat in the media is the creation of what we call an engagement center. And the engagement center is a 24/7 opportunity for people that are homeless. And we're in the design phase of it now. I don't really have a location on where this would be, but it would be a place where people that need help would go. Right now in our community, people don't know where to go when they need help. When there's a homeless family and they need shelter tonight, they don't know where to go. When there's a single person and they need shelter tonight, they don't know where to go. When we've got people that are couch surfing, sort of staying with friends, family, bouncing around, they don't know how to stop that cycle. And so we're looking at creating a 24/7 opportunity for people where there would be shelter, there would be housing, and most importantly, there would be services. It's a big part of what we do at Transitional Housing. I have a lot of housing. We own 76 units of housing is what we own. But we're not just here to provide housing. I'm not a landlord. A lot of people hear me say I'm not a landlord. I'm here to help people stay housed. And so that really comes with support. So we provide meals, we provide a place for people to get mail and computers and access, but the biggest thing that we provide to people is hope and help. They don't know. I mean, all of the different steps. I mean, I kind of feel like I got it all together most days. I mean, I've got most days. I had it most days. But I've got my car, I've got my family, I've got my home, I've got my job, but I've also got a phone with my calendar on it. And God help me when my phone and my calendar aren't working. Because then, I don't know where to go, I don't know where to be, I'm not sure what's happening, because I'm connected. Like, I'm into everywhere. The folks that we see don't have all that. Nor have they ever seen anybody that has all of that. So they don't really understand what it means to go to work, pay your bills, this is how it rolls. They've never had that. Now, sometimes it's because of their capacity. We've got a lot of folks that have limited capacity. They can't do all of that. For people that walk in, because I'll have people tell me, I can't believe we got homeless people here, they just need to get a job. You betcha. You're absolutely right. And for people that can work, like that have their help, that have capacity to work, that's exactly the road they're on. And those are the easy people, because we can get them working, get them paychecks, get them housed. Boom, done. But for people that don't have that, and for families that continue to struggle, we've got families that have an 8th grade education. So you want single mom and 4 kids, just go get a job. Okay, well, there's a lot more to it than that. A lot more to it. And so that's really the cool thing about our community, about how we really work together to make sure that we break those barriers for families. Do we have enough? No. No. I do have information that I'd be happy to pass out to you. I know that you end, and so I'll stand like at the end, but I've got brochures. But it talks about the fact that last year we served over 175 families. 65% increase over the year before. That's not good. That's not good. So while we think about, okay, people are getting jobs and that's fantastic. The jobs that our people are getting, when they have lower functionality and they don't have their education, they're making $7.25 an hour and working 20 hours a week. So paying for housing is expensive. And so that's our role. And so we try to really jump in and figure out how can we best work with these families. How can we connect them to maybe education, if that's something they're interested in? How can we partner with Laura or the Excel Center to get them, go get your high school diploma? You know, how can we get you into housing? You work on that. How can we get you better? But that's what we do. What questions do you all have? Because I could literally talk for a really long time about. One of the things that we also need, and I'll jump back to you, we're always looking for volunteers. We provide meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner 7 days a week at the Howarth Center. If you ever have a group looking for a cool team building opportunity, come serve a meal. That'll get your attention when you walk into 50 people sitting there. And these are people that are working and trying, like they really are. Yes?
Do you see any real solutions to this? The people who are not making a living wage, they're making the minimum wage, they're working the 20 hours a week so that their employer doesn't have to give them health care. Is there a solution to this never-ending cycle?
And again, here's my gig, and people will hear me say, there's a lot of battles to fight. I'm the homeless, I'm the passionate about homelessness. Can we end that? I'm not sure we can end that. And that's what helps, that's what keeps the perpetual cycle of poverty going. You know, that's way above my pay grade to fix all that. I wish. Yes?
I recall that when one of the facilities, not Lincoln, but the other one, was being developed, that you got some heat from the community, or do you face the challenge of people saying, not in my neighborhood?
Yes, of course I do. Almost every day. I mean, I get that a lot, and it's unfortunate. And one of the things that we really try is whether people are homeless people or not, we're here to help people. And so we provide housing to people. Now, the people that were living in our units down at Lincoln Center or at Singles Program, yes, they were homeless people prior to moving in. So I understand that that kind of raises red flags for people. But in the big scheme of things, you wouldn't know if they were homeless or not. I mean, they're people. And so do they have some challenges? You bet they do. But I also have staff there. I mean, so most apartment complexes, they too house people. And most of the people that are now housed all with us used to live in apartment complexes. But it's not until they become homeless people that's when people get a little nervous about that. So yes, I hear about it. I want to say that we try to support our neighbors. I mean, we're here to be good neighbors. We want to help people. We don't want to move degenerates in, but we do want to help people stay housed and connect them to care. Yes. Yeah.
Is the police department part of your referral group?
They refer to me, yes.
I would think so.
They do. We have an excellent partnership with most of the members of law enforcement because they see the value of what happens when we house people. When people are not housed, their behaviors are somewhat erratic. However, once they're housed, you can drink in your own apartment, and we've got we have someone who has been arrested in our community over 200 times for public intoxication. What a waste of resources. When the cops roll up, they look at him and say, oh my God, are you kidding? No, not kidding. Boop, here we go. He's been housed now for 4 months. Now, do the police still know who he is? Absolutely. But here, we're gonna try to keep him housed. Keep him where he needs to be so that his criminality can decline and not waste their resources. I mean, if they're criminal, on the line of criminal activity, when you've got a public intoxication criminal, they're annoying. That's an annoying criminal. I got that. That's what I have. When they raise the bar a little bit, well, then they become prisoners. So then they're housed, then they're not sleeping outside anymore. So yes, we have a very good partnership with LTD. Yes. Yeah.
Seems like by the time you get them, it's almost too late. What are we going to do about saving the kids?
So we are a United Way participating agency. And the United Way is really looking at the impact of these children. And what can we do? Because you're right, by the time I see them, they're already homeless, or they've already got, and I've had families, I've had generational folks that have been homeless. I've seen it, because I've been around a little bit. So I've seen three rounds of that. And so how can we make an impact on these kids to help raise that bar? And it starts with education. And United Way is really big into that impact. And what can we do in the schools? How can we impact these kids? How can we make sure every child is reading? What can we do? And there's other programming that's all involved in that. But yes, there's a lot that needs to be done. Absolutely. Yes.
How often?
My tap dancing partner.
Yes, that's my tap dancing partner.
Yes.
How often in working with veterans is the Veterans Home a solution, just helping them to find out that it's available, that they qualify for it, that there is a home for them there, and with Medicaid and with the government assisting?
Repeat the question.
So the question from Anita is really how supportive is the Veterans Home on how helpful are they on helping homeless veterans?
Yeah.
And so this is a difficult question for me to answer, and I'll tell you why. They have a facility out at the Indiana Veterans Home that, and I always mispronounce it, but it's like a domiciliary, okay? Okay. And so one of their, so to enter into the dom is what we call it, you have to be homeless. And so they've operated this housing program for a long time. The VA has changed their procedure. And so over the last 3 months, we've had 25 veterans from the Veterans Home entering into the homeless system because they're changing the way they're housing people. So I can't really answer that the Veterans Home is real helpful. in us helping to provide housing. Now, when we have people that have needed assisted living or nursing home care, we go through that regular pipeline. But when it's a homeless veteran that needs housing, that is a no-can-do.
Now, I see that happening because they are asking young people who are capable of working
Go to work.
to get their own apartment.
That's right. And those are the folks that we can work with and get them housed, but we have other folks that can't do all that. You know, but they're not really in need of critical care, like they don't need the veterans home housing, so they're sort of in this limbo. Don't you volunteer out there?
I work there.
Oh, you work there. Well, see, I knew you were.
I feed them.
All right, well, don't throw me under the bus, but yeah, it's been a rough 3 months.
I know.
Is Purdue involved anywhere?
So Purdue students, I've got a lot of Purdue students that come over and do things, absolutely. We need volunteers every single day. So we've got a lot of Purdue students that come over and do things. Yeah. Yes?
How has Lafayette Transitional Housing picked up the slack since the day shelter closed, the MHA Mental Health America Day Shelter closed? How have you picked up that slack?
So as of May 31st, MHA Day Shelter closed. As of June 1st, we opened 7 days a week, 13 hours a day. So prior to that, we were just open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Now we're open from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. 7 days a week with 0 additional resources. Zero resources. So our board, which God love my board, poor board. So we sort of made that strategic decision of somebody needs to jump in and help. We need to create a place for people to go, and how do we make that happen? And so we decided to make it happen and ask our donors to help us. And so that's exactly what we've done. So many of you probably get letters from me and support Lafayette Transitional Housing, and that's exactly why, because we need your help in order to operate these additional hours. We have no funding coming in for that. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much.
On behalf of Lafayette Kiwanis, this is our 100th year of being involved with the community. That's an organizer. You're plenty organized on your own.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Just briefly to conclude, Jesus said that the poor will always be with us, but how we treat those that are least among us is a reflection on ourselves. If you think about the numbers that she just talked about, 173 families, that's families with children, and there's 52 weeks in the year. That's more than 3 times a week. Every other day, a family with children is in urgent need of those that address homelessness in our community. And Jennifer Layton spends her life addressing those people and has also started a program to address homeless veterans in the last 2 years in our community. I'd like to give her another hand.